So with more than half of U.S. adults going solo, there are big implications for the economy. And for his insights, we're joined by Peter Morici, macroeconomic and professor of international business at the R.H. Smith School of Business. Peter, good to have you on the show.
Nice to be with you.
Peter, the U.S. was built partly on this notion of the nuclear family. As we know, that was what really triggered the post-World War II economic growth. So is it an economic concern that there is this increasing trend towards maintaining or reverting back to a single status?
Actually, there is. One of the biggest stimuluses a society can have is something like the baby boom, because of all the money that's spent in terms of schools, toys, clothes to equip a new generation. And while singles might spend their money on other stuff, diving and vacations and things like this, when you have a baby boom, when you have a lot of children, the grandparents chip in royally.
Okay, well, we have the economic impact of not having babies, but let's also focus on some of the benefits that marriage brings, like, for example, tax benefits, and more often than not, dual income. So how does this rising single population impact the housing market?
Well, rather profoundly, because single people live in smaller spaces, but they also, if they leave their parents' home, which they all eventually have to do, they live in cities. This is one of the reasons that they're not rebounded as we saw single industries. People have, it costs more to them. Well, hospitality for one, and tourism and so forth, those are big issues. Also, recreational type act. I've recently taken up biking at my late age, and I'm surrounded by all kinds of single people. When I go to the bike thing, and things like skiing and ice skating and so forth. So those are big items. Also, longer term, these people have to prepare to retire like the rest of us and not burdened by higher education costs for children. Well, they'll be investing a lot more. Money managers will like them.
But are they investing a lot more? Because aren't you more likely to be focused on your future and financial planning and investing when you're part of a team, when you're in a marriage and you're more focused on the future together and you have more income as a unit to put away for the future?
But when you're single, you can't rely on your spouse to carry you through when you get sick. And as we get older, those become a larger concern. Singles, when they are younger, can be quite reckless with their money. But singles, as they get older, become more conservative.
What's older?
Over 40. They have to start looking out for themselves. They realize they're not immortal, that they're going to get sick before they die. And they need to basically create savings and investments to cover those things. And money managers are going to like dealing with singles a lot, because when this comes up, they won't be pressured by college tuition for the kiddos at the same time.
Well, the economist Edward Yardeni, who pointed out the increase of the single population in his study, he contends that this is also creating income inequality. Do you agree with that?
Well, it does to some degree. People without responsibilities, people without children, certainly have more income to spend no matter how successful they are. Whether they're moderately successful or very successful, it does enhance income inequality. But I would point out to you, there's a lot of dynamics in all this. For one of the things is that because of marriage, pairs of professionals have household incomes that greatly outstrip everyone else. We didn't have that 25 and 30 years ago when women weren't in the professions. So there's a lot of factors cutting across here. And I don't think anybody's really written the book on this entirely.
No, it's still out, and who knows, that trend could reverse. Studies have shown that when there's a catastrophe, there's an increase in the rate of engagements and marriages. Not looking for catastrophe, but the trend could reverse. All right, we're going to have to thank you there, Peter Morici, macroeconomist and professor of international business at the R.H. Smith School of Business.